So how do you transition to keto? You could just cut out the carbs overnight and do 25 grams net carbs or less per day right away. But what I've noticed is that for most people, it's too harsh of an approach to do that. So for most people, it seems that it's best for them to count the number of carbohydrates that you're eating, usually, and then make a goal for the next day to cut that number by half, or even sometimes less than half. Let's say you found out that you consume 300 grams of carbohydrates today. So what you want to do is the next day cut that by, let's say, 100. So the next day you consume 200 grams of carbohydrates. The next day you can consume 100 grams, the next day 50 grams, and then you cut that by half and you get to 25 grams net carbs. Then once you're at the 25 grams net carbs for a couple of days or 3 days sometimes, then you will enter a state of ketosis. And that seems to be a much gentler approach for most people, and it does not really interfere with your daily life and habits as much compared to just overnight going full-blown keto and having headaches the next day and being in such a carbohydrate withdrawal stage that you just feel awful. There's really no need to go through that. And so that would be my recommendation. Go slowly cutting down your carbohydrate content, and you can choose how much carbs you want to cut. So let's say 300 grams per day. You may want to choose to just cut it by 50 grams the next day and 50 grams the day after that until you reach the 25 grams net or less per day. And also don't worry too much about sticking to a super clean keto diet. It's okay to consume the keto pizza and the keto treats here and there when you are adapting at first, because just changing your energy source, your main energy source, away from carbohydrates and into a fat-based metabolism, that's going to require some adaptation. And your body is still confused, is still looking for the carbohydrates. And so you want to be as gentle as possible with it. So to do that shift from a carbohydrate to a fat-based metabolism, that's some level of stress to your body. So there is no need to stress it even more and consume a super clean keto and just eating, your vegetables and only eating your fatty meat and vegetables. So it's okay. Forgive yourself for consuming those foods. It's fine to do that. Eventually, you will naturally want to clean up the diet, and eventually you will naturally not want to be consuming those processed packaged keto foods. And also another recommendation, always make sure you keep some keto snacks on hand or in your purse, and anywhere you go, you always know that if you cannot find a ketogenic food, you always have a backup with you that you can consume and remain in a state of ketosis, and that you will not be kicked out of the state and then have to wait another 2 days to get back into it. So a lot of places are still food deserts, because you might find food wherever you're at on campus, at your job, but more often than not, those foods tend to be higher in carbohydrates. And so those foods are going to kick you out for like a day or two out of ketosis. And so remember to always keep a little emergency stack of keto snacks or foods with you everywhere you go.